Okay, I'm just getting things sorted out. Bear with me. Okay. Just got the route sorted out. So, going to be flying down to Townsend and Bozeman, flying by Ranch, Gardner, Yellowstone, Jackson Hole, Alpine, Star Valley Ranch, Afton Municipal, Bear Lake County, Preston, Brigham, Ogden, Hinckley, and then down to South Valley Regional at Salt Lake City. So this is going to be fun. We should be able to do it on one tank of fuel. So the first thing we need to do is get this aircraft up and running. And I need to remember how to do that. So mixture to rich, propeller speed is already at rich. Gently push the throttles forward to about 5%.
Clear.
Magneto's on. We've got FS Realistic switched on as well, which should be fun. We're going to go and turn on the beacon light before we start the engines so people know what we're about to do. We'll also turn the nav lights to steady. Pitot heat won't need to be on yet. And just trying to think what we've forgotten. So we've done, the fuel, the tanks are set, that's good. The cowl flaps are pulled up, so they're open, that's good. Okay, so right engine first. Okay, what have I forgotten? I've forgotten something. Ah, it would help if we went and turned some batteries and generators on. There we go. Okay, we have the right engine running. Okay, left engine. Center the switch up. Okay, let's go and turn the avionics on now. Okay, everything's come on. Pitot heater on. Just checking around everything, see everything's in the right positions. Looks like it is. Turn the seatbelt sign on for the passengers in the back. Okay. Well, we could program some of the routing, I guess. So let's go into the flight plan menu while the engines are sat warming up. And push in. And so our first waypoint is KHLN. KH. So this is where we're flying from. Oh, just before I get any further, let's go and double check what the volume levels are looking like. Okay, you can hear me over the engine, that's good. LN. Enter. Next waypoint on our route is 8U8. So roll the big wheel and 8. Did I say L? 8U8. So let's go backwards through the alphabet. And then go forwards again. And enter. We'll put the first few legs in. Bozeman Yellowstone. KBZN. Bozeman. I think that'll do for the moment. We can program some more en route. Okay, so let's go and turn on the transponder as well. I think we're good to go. So let's go and have a look at the map of where we are in this airfield. Wind is from the northeast, 7 knots, so it would make sense. We're not supposed to use runway 05, so we'll go for runway 09. We'll just taxi out almost in a straight line here. Work outside. It's a lovely day. We're using live weather. Always use live weather. So flaps to takeoff position. Some thunder rolling around in the sky. So we're just taxiing round to runway 09 and then we'll get on our way. Whoa, lightning just hit the ground right in front of us. Hopefully we don't get hit by lightning. I was just thinking earlier today I hadn't seen much lightning in Flight Simulator for a long time. Yet here we are. Whoa! And it just came down again. I think it's trying to hit us. So I think, yeah, this is runway 05 we're about to cross here, and this 09 is just over here. So that's runway 05, which we're not supposed to use. Okay, so we're just going to scoot sideways so we can see over the cowl. Now we can sit back down now, press F. Up. We've got a lot of fuel on board. Gear up. Flaps up. And the sim has frozen. Instantly. I have no idea what caused this. I think it's the USB controllers on the motherboard. I've removed all power management, so the computer should never meddle with them while the sim's running. It's obviously a bug in the way Flight Sim is written, because lots and lots of people see this issue. It will let go in a moment. All the controls will recycle when it releases. There we go. I'm guessing when or why it will do it is a bit of a random number generator. Okay, so let's do a circuit of the airfield here before we actually depart. Have a look. If we pull ourselves further up the cockpit, we can see further out of the window. Okay, I'm just wondering what that noise is. I'm looking at the temperature gauges to make sure everything's looking okay, and it is, but cylinder, I'm going to put the carb heat on. Just raised this up into the middle, which is good. It was looking a bit cold. Okay, so there's the runway we just took off from, runway 09. This is Helena Airport. So from here, we are going to head off 117 degrees. So let's go and look round at the marker. We can see the mark there, but we're going to play with the aircraft. 117. Which is about there. So we'll turn the autopilot on. We'll turn on altitude hold for the moment. And we'll turn on heading hold. And heading mode is over here as well. Okay. So let's climb gently. So we're going to put this into pitch mode. Raise the vertical speed. So our first leg is 26 miles just down to Townsend, which is 8, uniform 8. While we're en route, we could put in some more legs into the flight plan, couldn't we? So focus goes back in here. MT48 was the next one. MT48. Enter. Next leg. 29S. Let's just keep an eye on this. It's climbing at 1,000 feet a minute, and it's getting a bit slow. So let's just push the engines open. Maybe not ascend quite as quickly. Okay, MT48, then 29S is the next one. Two. 9. S. Enter. Next one. KWYS is Yellowstone. K. W Y S. Yellowstone. I think we need to keep an eye on this. We're getting faster and we're getting near that hill, but we're still good. Can still concentrate on this. Jackson Hole, KJAC. KJ AC. Alpine 46U. Four, 6 U. Enter. The airplane's being thrown around so much that I'm having a job controlling it. So what was next? WY39. Oops. W Y 3 9. Enter. Next one. KAFO. Oh, if I go and turn on transmitter, people will be able to see where I am as well. Because we've got a friend of mine, Florian, is flying along behind us. Now where did I get to? WY39. KAFO. So, okay. A. I'm just going to go and switch on altitude hold, by the way. Let's go and have a look outside. Yeah, we were on the point of stalling actually, which is really odd. Because we weren't... Oh, we were at 8,500 feet, I guess. So what we can do to combat that is lean the engines out. And there we go, we got the speed back. So KAFO. F-O. Enter. Next waypoint. Uh, 1U7. We'll cut the engines back now, we don't need to be going flat out anymore. 1U7. This is a real struggle to do this with the cockpit moving around. Enter. Next one is U10 for Preston. And then KBMC for Brigham City. KBMC MC Brigham City, enter, and KOGD, K O G D, and then finally U42. U42. Flight plan is done. Let's increase the range. We should be able to see the next airfield already. So just across the water is Townsend, which is down here. So we're going to come off the autopilot. And looking at the wind, we need to come in from this side, so runway 17. So we go and have a look out over the end of the aeroplane. There's the airfield here. You see it there? There's the runway. That's complaining because I pulled the engine back so much. So what I'll do is just do a couple of turns to help slow down. Shall we look from outside? And you can see Florian behind me because he doesn't have lights. So I may have to do a couple of turns just to lose some speed. So I'm intentionally overrunning the centre line. Okay, gear and flaps down and pull the engines back to idle. That whole climb out, we never closed the cowl flaps, did we? But we have now. So the airport we are approaching is Townsend, 8U8. So again, I'm going to go and increase the mixture just while we're on approach. Okay, and this is just going to be a touch and go. It's not going to be a full stop. Or a bounce and go. That'll do. Okay, so retract the flaps to take off position again. Gear up. Aircraft picks up speed remarkably quickly without all the drag of the flaps and the gear. Okay, so the next leg is 146 degrees. So we can go and put that on the compass so we can see where it is. So about there. I can hear another aeroplane. Or maybe not. Just behind us, climbing out. Okay, so let's get the autopilot back on. Let's get pitch mode. Let's get it to hit about 1,000 feet a minute on climb out. And if we switch over here to nav mode on the autopilot, which is this knob down here, this should, and we have to switch, this is already on, it's on GPS now. So the aircraft is automatically going to follow the leg now. Didn't mean to do that. There we go. So it's following the route for us, and then we get the information now about how far to run. We've got our ground speed, we got the track, we got the distance to the next waypoint, which is 31 miles at the moment. Obviously the DME is doing nothing because we've got no VOR stations in play, but if we go and tune this one in, we could use it for a laugh. How are we doing on altitude, by the way? Okay, we can go to level flight here. So we could tune in the VOR at BZN 11240. So let's do that, just for something to do. 11240. Now at the moment this is going to make no sense. So if we, because this is obviously showing the GPS orientation. If we change the heading and go for heading hold mode instead, change this to heading over here, then we can switch this over without changing our course. So was it 11240? 11240, so we'll change that to be the active frequency. So you can see the VOR has now come alive. We can change the course. If we hold on the mouse for about 5 minutes on it. And line it up, and it will tell us which direction to the VOR. And you can see the DME has actually come alive now. It's over here, look. So we've got a 23 knot crosswind, which is why this is offset here. In other words, to reach the VOR, we have to fly offset from the VOR. So from the course, I should say. Yeah, so we could change this back to nav, for example, now, and it's on VLOC mode, so it will follow the course into the VOR station. We haven't done any sightseeing at all, have we? It's amazing scenery out there, and here we are nerding out about all the systems on the aeroplane. So this is the Beechcraft Model 18, if you've not seen it. It's very reasonable, it's in the marketplace at the moment. You can open the windows and have a listen to the engines growling away. You can open the side windows as well. It's very well modelled down in the cabin. You can play with things like the tables. I mean, why they put the effort into the tables, I'll never know. Okay, how are we doing on the... We're really kind of pushing it on speed at the moment. We're back at 7,000 feet, so we could get some more speed out of this. Just gonna... Okay, we're just going to go and detune the radio. The other, well, what we could do is turn the speaker off for COM 1. Except it doesn't do it, which is interesting. Okay, the other alternative is we push this in and we go and detune the radio. So just make a different active frequency, and then we won't pick anything up on the radio. Where's Florian gone? Looking up on the map, he's about a mile behind us. What's he flying? It's the D18. And he's at 7,500, so he's 200 feet above us. So he's... No, there he is. Okay, let's have a look at some of the scenery as we go hurtling past. Okay, so you can see the next airfield is coming, and the DME obviously is lit up because we've tuned into the VOR station that's there. 18 miles to run. We're doing 160 knots over the ground. Going to be there in 7 minutes. So we could go and have a look at the wind at the next airfield. So based on the wind, our touch and go, the easiest one would be to use runway 21, which is only 3,400 feet long. Otherwise, although that doesn't represent the wind on the ground, we need to check it. This is the wind where we are. Obviously we're several thousand feet in the air. The wind on the ground is 220 degrees, 20 knots. So it's, yes, it is a 20 knot wind basically. So it's a windy day. So we will come out to the side and come in on runway 21 for our touch and go. Although that's, yeah, okay, yeah, runway 21 is usable. Obviously we're being thrown around by the wind over this hill that we've just skimmed over the top of. I'm going to turn my own volume down. I'm deafening myself with the engine noise, which is not fun. Let's just see what the volume's like for you. Yeah, I need to turn that down a bit for you, don't I, so you can hear me over it. That's better. Okay. We have got 13 miles to run. Miles are ticking down quickly. So after we pass Bozeman Yellowstone, we cross over the hills into Flying Y Ranch, then down to Gardiner, and then into Yellowstone proper, so into the park. Yellowstone National Park. So we might do a detour here and fly over towards the lake, but we'll see when we get there. These hills are huge, aren't they? Right. We should be able to see the airfield in front of us. Yeah, there it is, look. Remember, we want to come across to the left and come in on the right runway to avoid the crosswind. It's a very strong crosswind. I guess it's because this is absolutely flat as a billiard table here, isn't it? So let's go back to heading mode. So over here I need to switch to heading mode. And start turning us. If I could actually control the mouse. And start descending at the same point. Oops. Just looking out over this airfield at the moment to see where the runway is that we're going to come in on, and I think it's this one here across the back of the airfield. Just descending as we go. If we get low enough and slow enough, then we won't have to do any silly manoeuvres to slow down. So I'll pull the throttles back. We should be decelerating now. You can see the indicated airspeed is coming off. We can wind out a little bit of that pitch, so come down at 500 feet a minute now, or thereabouts. Yeah, and you can see the speed is coming off pretty handily, which is good. So I'm going to take the autopilot off now and hand fly it in. So let's go and sit in the cockpit, in the pilot's seat I should say. Have a look outside. Here comes Florian behind us. It's getting closer, obviously, because I've slowed down early. Just sit up so we can get some orientation on the runway. Gear down. Obviously we're descending, so we'll go back to a rich mixture on the engines. Oh, and here comes the spammers in the live stream. They're about to be removed by the robot that watches my live stream, so don't worry. Or I hope they're about to be removed by the robot. Let's give it a moment to wake up. And there they go. So I use a robot that watches the live stream called Nightbot. We try to do this from outside and when we get a little bit closer. Someone else taking off from here. That counts as a touch, doesn't it? Should we go for one more? Gear up. Flaps up. Gaining speed. Okay, let the plane level out a little bit and we can probably hand navigate over to the next airfield. So we have to turn left 124 degrees to Flying Y Ranch, 30 miles away. So 124 degrees we're looking for, which is about the direction that the marker's on already. The engines back. Lean them out a little bit. Bearing in mind that we're already at 6,000 feet. So let's just go and double check something here. So we'll go to altitude hold mode. And we heading hold, altitude hold. Autopilot on. I just want to go and have a look at the map. Yeah, so we do have to clear those hills that are in front of us to get to Flying Y Ranch. So this line of hills, we're going to have to go over it. So we'll go to pitch mode and we'll start climbing. Just looking at the temperature over there for the cylinders, it's getting, although it's still in the green, it's good. Temperature here is bang in the middle, which is absolutely fine. Oh, just looking at the live stream chat. This is beautiful. Hey, Jonathan. Yeah, hello, Moman. Nice to see you there. Lolo is saying, anyone know a fix for massive straight lines in the terrain? It's probably... Do you mean like a step in the terrain? Because if it is, that's probably a bug in the scenery. It's not perfect everywhere. Also, if you are seeing real jaggedy lines everywhere, it's probably because you've got some scenery mod that's not working correctly. So the usual fix for that is just to empty all the mods off that you've got and see if it still exists. Or it could be down to a bad internet connection, because the scenery is mostly streamed from the internet. Okay, so we're getting closer to Yellowstone. As soon as we go over these hills, we'll be kind of into the park, into the national park. So the town we're flying over at the moment is Bozeman. So this is Bozeman. Zoom out a little bit so you get to see it. There's obviously a school here with a running track and a huge number of football fields. There's an American football field, soccer fields, running track, car parks. Huge. There's another school over there with another sports ground and a number of fields. Okay, let's see how this climb out is going. 1,000 feet a minute, and we're holding on to about 110 knots, which is fine. Would I recommend this plane? Yeah, it's good. It's good fun. It's the Beechcraft Model 18. It's available in the marketplace. It's a bit like the Aerosoft planes in that there's lots of switches and knobs to do with the engines, for example, but they don't really do much. And there's not much risk of doing anything untoward to the aircraft. Like, you know, I don't think you can do an engine fire, for example. The best aircraft I've seen in terms of absolute simulation is the Boeing 247, and then not far behind it is the PMDG DC-6, which has all sorts of things that can go wrong and lots for you to play with that actually do affect the aircraft and its performance. But this is good fun. It's, you know, it's not too stressful to operate. So I'm just going to open the engines up, and as we're getting higher I'm going to lean them out more. You can see the speed coming on. Look, now we've leaned the engines out. It really is accelerating. You can see Florian is still there behind us. So here comes the Yellowstone National Park. So Danielle Severi has said, which plane would you recommend to learn flying in Flight Sim 2020? I am trying the stock flying lessons in the 152, but the controls are too sensitive, making it difficult to keep altitude and heading. I think it's just something you need to get used to. The 152, I fly it. I haven't damped the controls down. I just fly it as it comes out of the box, and it's okay. I've tried I've had a few different control sticks, and no, that's just the way airplanes behave, I'm afraid. So you need to learn to be gentle with the controls. So obviously the bigger aeroplanes are slower to react, but I actually did a video on this recently, that the skills of flying stick and rudder with a small aeroplane always apply. The knowledge you gain through flying the little aeroplanes stays with you, even with like 737s or whatever. so I'm going to go altitude hold now. Because I believe we're going to come down. Oh no, we're going to cross this ridge. And then there'll be a flat plain. I'm guessing the hills we can see over there are the other side of this flat plain. So there's a river down here with an airfield next to it. We can't quite see it being drawn yet. Hopefully in a few minutes when we get a bit closer we'll get to see it. So if we pull in on this map and reduce the range on it, so we've got 11 miles to go. We'll switch this over to GPS, by the way. So we've got 11 miles to go to the next destination. So we're just using heading hold mode at the moment. Well, I think we are. Heading hold, and it's on heading mode, yes. ...160 knots, this thing can shift, can't it? That's because I've got the engines pushed against the stop, so I'm going to pull them back. How are we doing on temperatures? It's getting a bit low, that's because we're quite high. We're at 9,200 feet. Yeah, just replying to Danielle in the live chat. The best thing you can do is just go to a small airfield, get to know it well, and fly circuits in the little aeroplanes. You know, just keep practicing and get used to how the airplanes behave. The 172 and the 152 are fantastic in flight sim. If you talk to pilots who've flown them in the real world, they'll say, yeah, they behave exactly like the real thing. We're doing? We're off to the right. The wind is down in the valley. The wind isn't going to be too bad, I don't think. So let's have a look. Oh, he says that 220 degrees 19 knots. So we're going to have to go runway 21. Just scouting around to see if we can see that airfield. Somewhere out there, right in front of us. This it here maybe, or is this it? Is it more obvious than that? Is that the one right in front of us here? I think it might be. Okay, let's start descending. So pitch mode, nose down, come off the throttle. Go for a richer mixture as we get lower. So you can see here's the runway over here with the hangars next to it. So we're going to turn into the wind on our approach, which will help us slow down. Let's centre ourselves up in the cockpit, sit back down, and we can see the airfield over there. Look, there's the airstrip. So autopilot off. I'm gonna overshoot on purpose to give myself more turns to lose speed. At the moment, yeah, we're still doing 130 knots, which is far too fast for a touch and go, especially in this aircraft. So let's just look at the speed fall off as soon as we put the nose in the air, which gives us the opportunity to drop the flaps and the gear and then pull the engines back to idle and side slip. So I'm pushing right rudder hard and then controlling the ailerons with the stick, and we could basically come down like an elevator. Then let go of the rudder, let the aircraft straighten itself up, open the engines back up gently, and line it up for landing. Should we see if we can do this from outside again? That was good fun before, wasn't it? Maybe I'll get us lined up. So there's a road that crosses the runway, which is always helpful. There we go, there's our touch and go. The briefest of touches. So full throttle. Gear up. And we're away. Adam Parrish has just arrived in the live stream. Hi Jonathan, just tuned in after a short hop from Jersey to the Isle of Man for the 146. Love the retro look of the Model 18. Is it hard on the controls? No, it's actually, it won't sit still on the controls. You have to control it if you are under manual control. You're always trimming it, but that's true of a lot of aircraft in the real world. You know, it won't just sit as some of the simplified simulator aircraft do. It's very dependent on speed for lift, and therefore, you know, a few knots difference makes the nose lift. So you end up trimming the whole time, but that's fine. You know, it's not a major hassle to do it. Okay, so next leg is 23 miles, 180 degrees basically, down to Gardner. And we're going to have to look for it when we get there. So let's move the heading bug around to 180 so we've got some reference, and let's just hand fly this bit, hey? Okay, so we're going to turn and we'll try and pick our way through the hills this time. So there's a ridge over here that pretty much follows the route, so can we actually get through a gap there? So there's the ridge that we can see that's right in front of us. Climbs and climbs and climbs up to Mineral Mountain. Doesn't actually go where we want, so maybe we carry on along and then follow this in. Caldera Minor, okay? So rather than fly up through that ridge, we're going to follow along the line of hills and follow the natural route in. So I'm just looking carefully at the map. So if that's that one, it must be over there. We'll find out in a moment, won't we? I mean, we have got enough power to climb over. It's just, do we want to do that? Okay, now we're back in the air. Let's lean the engines back out. I turned big maps on and it seems to solve the issue I had earlier. Ah, so you'd turned off the Bing Maps data. That would be why. I was just playing offline to save frame. Yeah, there you go. What server? I'm on Southeast Asia. It says in the notes of the video actually. I'm also broadcasting on transmitter, so if you head to virtualflight.online, or if you know about transmitter already, there's the transmitter program I wrote that you can plug into Flight Sim, and it lets you share where you are on a map, and you can see it in Little Nav map as well. So for example, if we go and zoom in and have a look here, oh, that's not me, where am I? There we go. So you can see us live on a map, and you can make this go full screen in the browser as well. But the real trick with that is it works in Little Nav map. Whoops, I'm not following what I should be doing. So I'm hand flying it and I keep forgetting. Okay, let's go where we should be going. Let's have a look at the map. So we're wanting to carry on past that entrance into the one that's over here. Yeah, so it is that way in, I suspected. Because these all curve off and don't take us to the way we need to go, we'll end up climbing over the top, which would be a shame. There is a way in down here, you can just see it. So yeah, if you wanted to come and join us, we are near, well, we're approaching Gardiner 29S. So if you did want to spawn in there on the Southeast Asia Flight Sim server, you can join along with us for a few legs. And see what I mean about if you're hand flying it, which I am. I didn't keep an eye on it for a moment and it started diving at the floor. So it's very, very dependent on you to keep an eye on it. Obviously it has the autopilot, so that helps a lot. So we could go just wing level and altitude hold mode will keep us out of trouble. And if we have a look here and increase the range, you can see we're going to come back in a moment. So here's the route into the hills, which, if I get the map up, let me get rid of that browser out of the way. Okay. We can actually get this to show up. If we go open window layout in Little Nav map and say give me the minimal layout and make it smaller. Oh, and it crashes on us. That's really useful, Little Nav map. Thanks a lot. Thankfully I've saved the flight plan. File. Open flight plan. Oh, I thought I'd saved it. Great. I haven't saved the flight plan. Let me just check. If I go to D drive and flight plans, there we go. I did save it. I thought I had. If I go window, open window layout, minimal, and then make this smaller. I can put this up in the corner while we're flying. and we get this nice little map that's better than the flight sim one. So I'm going to come off the autopilot and we're going to hand fly through this valley. The other thing we'll need to do is go and get rid of the taskbar out of Windows, because it's now going to get in our way, which we can do quite easily. There we go. So we're basically going to follow the river now. So this is into Yellowstone proper now, I guess. Make this zoom slightly out. Okay. So this is Corwin Springs we're about to cross over. I've got the 7-day trial of FS Realistic installed, which is why you can see the aeroplane shaking around all over the place. And it's actually quite impressive. It gives you all those squeaky noises and kind of, you know, creaks and groans from the aeroplane, and moves your head, bobbles your head around with turbulence. It's actually quite good. I don't know if it's worth the money. I don't know if I'll carry on with it after 7 days, but we'll see. Maybe if the people that see Flight Sim Realistic, or the people that make it, maybe if they see this video, they might give me a copy. I'm never cheeky enough with the whole making content for YouTube business. I tend to buy all the aeroplanes that I've used. I've borrowed a couple off of people, you know, when they've not been using them, and I've installed from family members, but I've never you know, if I've recorded a video with an aeroplane, I've gone and bought it typically. But I haven't bought that many aeroplanes. Well, compared to some people. I tend to sit and wait for the reviews to roll in on the half decent ones. I find there are particular airplanes I go back to again and again, things like the Scottish Aviation Bulldog, just because it's great fun to fly. Okay, so there's the airfield right in front of us, so we need to lose some speed and major height, like instantly. So I may do an orbit. Okay, we can't do an orbit though, because there's a sodding great hill in the way, which is going to make it fun. Okay, we're slow enough now anyway to throw the flaps and the gear down. It's vibrating, I'm too slow. That was bad. But look at the crosswind. Oh my word, that windsock was almost horizontal. Okay, we got away with it. Okay, next leg is, just checking things out here. We're still on a leaned out mixture, but then we are at high altitude. We're at 6,000 feet. Next leg is 205 degrees, 27 nautical miles. Let's get that on here. So we're going cross country basically now. So we'll hand fly it. Let's pull this up slightly. We can't go for a straight line route because there's a Starting Great Hill in the way. Unless there's a way round here, around the back of this headland. I'm hoping there's a gap. Okay, we carry on to the right and then turn left around the back of this escarpment, if you want to call it that. So we're hoping to head 205 degrees magnetic eventually, which we can see on the GPS anyway. We're going absolutely flat out uphill. Let's keep an eye on this though, because we are really pushing the engines towards the red zone. Temperatures here are fine now, so it seems happy with it. This is where I don't think this aircraft is that realistic, because I've got the engines pushed against the stops, and the Asobo factory-made aeroplanes, or licensed aeroplanes, tend to be extremely simple in terms of managing the engines. So we want 205 degrees, don't we? So let's get that marked on here, so we've got some reference. So that's 190, 180, 190, 200, 205. Whoops. We want to be going about that direction. Let's have a look at the map quickly. Let's make this bigger. Oh, it would help if you didn't do that, wouldn't it? Help if I made that bigger. But I'm being thrown around all over the place by turbulence. So, there we go. You can actually see where we're going now. Pull the engines back. Southeast Asia server, yes. Vruden the Great has appeared and he's asked about the server. Yes, we are on Southeast Asia. So let's have a look around. I'm flying this a bit low. So let's just clear this hill gently. We've got lots of speed. It's not an issue. realised I missed qualifying for the F1. Let's sneak over to another browser tab and find out who qualified on pole. Alright, qualifying is underway right now. Okay. Alright, still in the first session. Okay, so if we just go for this ridge directly in front of us, we may as well. So we're coming up towards 10,000 feet. So we need to make sure that the engines are already leaned out quite a lot, but we'll do a bit more. We're pretty much on the track to the next airfield. So we're going for this lower ridge. So let's there's a lot of turbulence. Trying to do too many things at once here. That was a bit close. We just stalled it over the top of the hill. Of course I forgot we're at high altitude, thin air. The stall speed's going to be a lot higher. Which is why we struggled to get over there. But look at the scenery on this side. It's a very clear day. Here comes Florian over the hill as well. And we can descend down into the centre of the park, of the national park. Now we've cleared the highest point. Okay, let's go back onto let's have a quick look. 205 degrees we wanted for Yellowstone runway, which is right in the middle. It's right in front of us, you can see it there. So we're going to press D and hold heading and altitude. Except the altitude has got a mind of its own and was trying to go for an altitude we had earlier, which I've just fixed. Well, what's going on? I'm going to try and figure out what's going on with this. Okay, so let's have a look at the wind at the destination. So only just above stall speed. I need to speed up. Okay, we're going to fly straight in 19. It's looking pretty awful, actually, the wind. 230 degrees, 10 knots gusting 26. It's not too bad. So let's go and turn our heading to... The only problem with turbulence is you can't keep the mouse in the controls in the cockpit. So pitch mode is on and we're going to descend. And I'll take over manual control in a couple of minutes. This is a fairly big airfield. Let's have a look around at the scenery of the park. Obviously a lot of this is what you see in these nature documentaries with the bears and all kinds of things along the streams. Welcome to Yellowstone. I bet it looks spectacular if we mess around with the scenery or with the lighting, but we're not going to today. Okay, so off the autopilot. Let's lose some speed. See, look, we're at 8,000 feet and we're not that far above the runway. This is such high altitude up here. We've just dropped the flaps, but not all the way yet. So Adam's saying, speaking of retro aeroplanes, recently tried the Supermarine Spitfire. Sounds and the visual modelling is remarkable. However, the takeoffs took me some time to figure out, especially when one isn't accustomed to rudder work with older aircraft. Yeah, Spitfire doesn't really want to go the direction it's pointing most of the time. I learnt that with the DCS Spitfire. I had it on a free trial a couple of years ago, and yeah, that was the huge shock over other simulators that maybe aren't as realistic. The warbirds really, the tails weren't very big, and you had to fight to keep the tail behind the engine, especially when throwing them around doing aerobatics. You had to control them. You couldn't just, you know, point the plane and expect it to sort itself out. And the other thing with the Spitfire, obviously, if you have the realism switched on, is, yeah, if you don't operate it correctly, you blow the engine inside a few minutes. Should we do our outside landing trick again? I'm keeping the power on, which is why it's not settling. But you can just see how much this thing wanders around, which is great fun. So flat out, gear up. Okay, next leg. We are going 155 degrees basically to the next one. So if we turn this over to nav mode now, because we have got the whole route programmed in, so we can switch this to nav. Put this on heading, turn the autopilot on, altitude mode on. Actually, let's put pitch mode on. And give this a bit of a climb to get over these hills. We could just cruise serenely on to the next waypoint. So if we switch this, yeah, it's on GPS mode. So in nav mode, it's going to follow the GPS route automatically. So let's just zoom in on this a little bit. Oh, that's increasing the range, sorry. So decrease the range and then you can see it. I didn't think that had worked, you know. So this appears to be independent of that. So if you use this last, it takes notice of it. If you switch this back to heading mode, after setting that, it goes back to the heading. Or it seems to do nothing. It's a little bit broken. Yeah, so now the airplane, look, is going back towards the GPS track. I mean, we could use there's a VOR down here, but we may not have line of sight on it from here. Which is probably why that one's there. So you can go to that one and then intercept that one for the ILS. Just reading out Adam's comments about the the warbirds wanting to swap ends on you. I think it's one of those things in the real airplane you would have feel, which you don't have in a simulator, so it would be a lot easier. I'm just wondering why I'm not getting much speed up, but I guess it's because we're at 8,000 feet. So I'm going to push the engines right out to the limit. I'm just looking at the needles up on the manifold pressure. I'm kind of right up against it though. We're only just scraping over these trees, aren't we? I mean, I've leaned it out an awful lot already. But we're getting speed up, look, we're doing 140 knots. How are we doing on the route? This is quite a long leg down to Jackson Hole. Quite a long way already. Okay, let's go for altitude hold now. Because I can see, you know, visually we are not going to hit anything across this plain, are we? So we're heading out to these hills in the distance. You can see them, look. We're going to cross into them to get to Jackson Hole. So I'm wondering whether it's actually worth going this route and going for the VOR. Should we see if we can pick it up 117.20 and then follow the lake route in? We did wonder, didn't we, about going out towards the lake in the middle of the park, but I think, to be honest, the scenery is just like this. It's rolling parkland basically. 11720, let's try this then. So we need to get the focus on these. 11720. Whoops. This is the big problem with the cockpit jumping around. And we're going to switch this to heading mode so we don't get thrown all over the place when we... Actually, that's a good point. We're picking up the distance measuring equipment, so it will work. Okay, so we'll just switch. We need to align this up, but it's already aligned. But once we switch this, it won't be. Yeah, look. So we want to be going straight for that VOR. The idea being, we go from here for there, and then once we get past, or once we get the sighting of the lake, we can change direction and go straight in for Jackson Hole. Yeah, so we're doing 130 degrees basically for a while, which is basically what you can see here. But we're fighting a crosswind. We're actually going that way. Look, we're pointing one way and going another. Okay, the ground's getting closer and closer. So we're going to have to start climbing again. Because we're going to hit that ridge. So let's go for pitch mode. Let's go for 500 feet a minute. Oh, we're doing nearly 170 knots. We are absolutely flying along. So we're coming up to 10,000 feet slowly. Okay, so this route in around these hills will be the way we can get to Jackson Hole. Yeah, so we're following this flatter route rather than trying to go straight over the top of those hills, which would take us probably up to 15,000 feet, which I don't fancy doing in this aeroplane. I mean, I think it can probably do it. Whether it's advisable is another matter. Okay, let's go for altitude hold mode again. We're still not that high above the ground, look. It's like a huge dome, isn't it? This landscape. We're on the top of the dome. Now, this is interesting saying that. I remember reading several years ago that there's a discovery was made that Yellowstone, you can see we're in the middle of it. Yellowstone is a supervolcano. And this is the Caldera, and I'm right over the middle of it. Yes, if you look on a map carefully, they think that this whole area is the caldera of a supervolcano. So, you know, following this ridgeline round, I'm obviously on the bottom left corner of it, but it kind of makes sense. And there was, since they've obviously had satellites measuring the altitude of the ground and getting decent mapping data, a few years back, that they didn't know that. From looking at the geology, they knew it was overdue for an eruption, or you know, for an event based on the sequence of it happening in the past by looking at the strata in the rocks. And then a few years back, the floor of Yellowstone rose by, I think it was 1 meter in a few days. It might have been more than that, I can't remember. But you can go read about it. Bill Bryson wrote a fantastic book about, you know, all sorts of things to do with the US, and it covered that in it. Dr. Beavis has appeared in the live chat. Howdy, hope all is well. Cheers from Alabama. I know somebody that works at a radio station in Alabama. I used to. Oh crikey, River Jones at, now what's the radio station? Q107, is it? WQLT maybe? I can't remember. Something like that. But yeah, fantastic person, an amazing radio presenter. I've listened in from this side of the world now and again to her show over the years. And yeah, some people are just born to radio. They're fantastic at it. Okay, so we can begin to make that turn now. So we can start turning south towards the next VOR, which will be 115.40. So let's try it. 115.40. Switch over. And yep, we've got a connection because we've got the DME working. And we can now turn the aircraft towards it. Now this is the interesting thing, look, we switched frequency and we were in nav mode and it hasn't switched. So let's do it again. I've flicked it off and on and it's following the frequency. So there are some vagaries to it and we need to be careful. Look, there's a headland. By trying to cut the corner, we're going to put ourselves straight through that hill. So we've done it too early, yeah. So let's go back to heading mode and say, yeah, we'll just go the heading mode, please. And let's turn that off and on. It seems to be you have to cycle these to get it to notice them. So we're going to fly that direction a bit first and just skim the hill. Yeah, that sounds like the radio station. Dr. Beavis is saying Q107 WQLT. Yeah, so I used to know a girl that worked there called River Jones. Well, she probably still works there for all I know. Yeah, amazing radio presenter. Looks like a fun scenic flight. I've yet to fly in Yellowstone. Maybe past you on this. Yeah. So I'm always looking for new places to fly that I've not been before. I know a lot of people tend to just fly around the places they live, and that seems a bit boring to me. I'm always up for looking at, you know, visiting places I've never been, to go and just see what they're like. Obviously this simulator lets you do that because it's got the entire world. Obviously some places are modelled better than others, but, you know, it's still good fun. So we're just flying across this water here. This is Jackson Lake, which takes us down to Jackson Hole. I'm probably going to finish the flight here because I'm getting tired. So I'll carry on with the rest of the trip another day. So we'll land at Jackson Hole and call it a day for the flight, I think. It's been good fun. Have a look from outside. We're still running almost flat out. I'm going to slow down a bit now. Should we check the altitude of the runway? Show information for Jackson Hole. Elevation 6,500 feet or thereabouts, and we are at let's check the barometric pressure while we're at it. So we are at 10,400 feet, so we need to lose 5,000 feet as we cross down here. So we'll start doing that now. Pitch and come down 500 feet a minute. Have we got a radio? Is this a staffed airfield? Let's find out. If we press scroll lock in the simulator and go to... No, what's the K-jack? Back. It's not going to let us leave it. Oh, here we go. Jackson Hole. Tune Tower. Hurrah! Request full stop landing, Jackson Hole.
November 846 Delta Sierra is 24 miles north 10,100 feet with Gulf to land. November 846 Delta Sierra Tower. Altimeter 29er decimal 701229er at 12. Make straight in runway 19er.
Straight in. Acknowledge.
Fly straight in runway 196 Delta Sierra.
Brilliant. So we just need to fly in. We're about 30 miles out. Shouldn't take too long. Make that a bit smaller, stick out on the corner of the screen over there. So we'll need to respond along the way as they say things. Hills are looking amazing, aren't they? Okay, so we probably need to start turning in towards the airfield fairly soon. So should we use the VOR now? Turn the course deviation indicators. Yeah, so we're pretty much in line with it actually. If we switch this back to nav mode then, and it will start following the course in. But what course do we actually want to land on? We want to land 186 degrees, which is not what we've got here. We've got 17 something, so 186 degrees. So what this is going to do now, it's going to turn left, fly and go across until we get onto the track we want to be on, which is, pay no attention to the measurement on this, but it's just the line I'm drawing on the map. When we get to that line, it will straighten up, because that's the 186 degree line. Yeah. So it's just going to get us straight for the straight-in approach, which is useful. Yes, Dr. Beavis, this is the aircraft in the marketplace. It's the Beechcraft Model 18. Yeah, I bought it from the marketplace myself. So let's go and switch on altitude hold now. We're getting quite low. So the idea here, we've got this on nav mode, on VRR lock, so it will intercept the centre line of the runway and turn right onto it for us. We can line up the heading as well in case we ever need it, but we probably won't, because we'll go manual in the last few moments. So the airplane's going to basically fly us in towards the runway. Now it does this have a localizer? Sorry, a glide slope. Yes, it does, a 3-degree glide slope. So we could try out. I've not tried it yet. This has got... No, it's only got localizer. It hasn't got glide slope by the look of it. I'm not sure what Omni does. I've not read about it yet. Let's have a look. Obviously the runway is quite a long way out yet, so we probably can't see it. I don't think we can. Unless, is that it over there? I think it might be. Yeah. Slow down a bit so Florian can catch up. We'll go in formation. So you can see this is lining up the runway for us just by using the nav radio. It's doing it quite well. So if I speed up, then I can counter Florian approach. There we go. There's a runway directly in front of us. Okay, let's come off the autopilot then. And straighten the view up, and we're going for finals basically. Now there's a switch somewhere, and I can't remember where it is in this cockpit, to switch on the tail wheel lock, and I won't be able to remember it if I look for it. I want to keep a looking outside as well while I'm doing this. Cowl flaps, landing gear clutch, fire extinguishers. Whoa. Acknowledge landing
Clear
clearance.
to land runway 19er, 6 Delta Sierra.
Handle right in the middle does the... Oh, is it this one? Oh, there. It's got tail wheel lock written on it. Meanwhile, I'm not looking where I'm going. Let's turn it on and see what happens. So hopefully it will stop the airplane squirreling around on the approach. Okay, let's start coming off the speed. So this is going to be the full stop for today, because I'm getting tired. Okay, so we're losing speed. We're getting into the realm where we can drop the undercarriage and the flaps. So there goes the flaps. First stage. Obviously then the drag from the flaps loses us speed at a spectacular rate. Undercarriage down. Should we do this from outside, because it's quite good fun, isn't it? Although it's difficult to see which way you're going from outside. It's easier to put it on the centre line from inside. So let's sit up so we get to see the runway as the plane rotates and puts the tail down. That's FS Realistic making the screen shake. That is a huge, huge amount of wind. I can't hold it on the runway easily. Acknowledge ground handoff.
124.556 Delta Sierra.
I need to go and remove that lock so I can steer the blooming thing. That was good fun. I'm going to park right here in between everybody. Okay, so parking brake on. There's the other one over there. So my engines have just died, which is perfect. So I am going to go then and turn the magnetos off and pitot heat off, turn the lights off, and what else do we need to do? I'm just trying to remind myself. Seatbelt sign. Go to off, beacon light can go to off, avionics can go to off, and then everything else off. And we're good to go. Okay, there we go, a flight across the Yosemite. No, not Yosemite. Yellowstone. Across Yellowstone. Obviously we did a bit of navigation along the way, but yeah, I'll carry on the rest of the route another day, because it's not really Yellowstone below anyway. It's really, it's just the journey from Yellowstone down to Salt Lake City. But that was good fun, and I'll see you again. Look at the scenery though, it's spectacular, isn't it? You don't really look at it too much when you're flying because you're concentrating on the instruments, but I'll leave it there anyway. I'll see you all again soon.